it for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now. Got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now. Got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
S-I-C-K.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. With Tony Marinaro.
55 seconds left in the penalty, a minute and 27 seconds left in regulation time. Boston 4, Montreal 3. Lafleur coming out rather gingerly on the right side. He gives it into Lemaire, back to Lafleur. Oh!
The sickest Montreal Canadiens podcast.
You're in the spot!
Sports entertainment like no other.
Rejoint, on lui fait perdre la rondelle, une passe devant. Et c'est le dégagement et ce sera la victoire des Canadiens. Stanley pour les Canadiens, le 23e de l'histoire.
You found the dogs! John, you found the dogs! He found the dogs! And all together, they worked a young team to the top. And now, a 24th Stanley Cup banner will hang from the rafters of the famous Forum in Montreal. The Canadiens win the Stanley Cup!
Brought to you by Energy Transportation Group. Driven to be different. La Vida Tibi. Embrace your true nature. And Playground, your premier gaming destination. It's gonna be sick.
Marinaro, it is the Sick Podcast on this Tuesday, July 4th. How is everyone doing? The Sick Podcast, of course, weeknights starting at 10 p.m. I don't know if my sound is a little low, so let me do that again. Marinaro, it is the Sick Podcast on this Tuesday, July 4th. The Sick Podcast, of course, weeknights at 10 p.m. You're probably watching on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Hello, how are you? How's everyone doing today? Yesterday, we told you, last night, we told you that last night's podcast and tonight's podcast would be dedicated to Habs development camp, which, of course, opened up on Saturday with medicals. Sunday was the first day on the ice. And then yesterday, of course, was day 2 on the ice. And today, there was an intra-squad that was planned, and it started at around 11 o'clock this morning, of course, and I have to tell you, it was absolutely packed in Brassard. It was pretty amazing, actually. So I make my way, and I have to tell this story, okay, because I think it can put a lot of things into context. So here we are once again. It's July 4th, and it's a really, really nice day in Montreal. There's a lot going on, and you would think the last thing you're going to think about is soccer on the 4th of, hockey on the 4th of July. But I make my way to Brassard, and I'm looking for parking, and I can't find the parking spot. I can't find a parking spot. I'm going around and around and around I go, and I can't find the parking spot. And no, unfortunately, Tony Marinaro does not have a special parking at the training facility in Brassard. Would love to, by the way. But anyway, so I have to park a little bit further. And it takes a while, but I find myself a parking spot. So just goes to say, I mean, everyone was there. And so I parked my truck, and I'm walking into the arena. And as I'm walking in the parking lot, I hear this gentleman who is holding the hands of 2 boys. One is 6 and one is 7. And I think the gentleman's name is Gaetan, I think he told me. And you know, he's talking to them, and he's like, les enfants, ça c'est les jeunes joueurs des Canadiens. These are young players, des joueurs qui ont soit été repêchés, either they were drafted or on les a invités au camp, or we invited them to camp, and we're, you know, they're going to try and give a good impression. Ils vont essayer de donner une bonne impression pour un jour peut-être jouer avec le Canadien, tu sais. Imagine un des joueurs des Canadiens, il y a quelques années, peut-être était dans cette position-là. One of the Canadiens players maybe was in this position a couple of years ago. And he's explaining. And it was a beautiful thing to watch. And it was a beautiful thing to hear. Like they were like right in front of me. And I could hear everything. And I stopped the gentleman and I said, well, this is what we call a culture, right? And that's what the Montreal Canadiens are. They're in our culture. And I brought up the word soccer before. And that's the one thing that soccer, unfortunately, doesn't have here, is that you're not going to get, you know, put it this way, if the roles were reversed on a winter day in Montreal, if the pro team was going to be practicing indoors and you had access to their camp, which they have in January, for example, when they're training at the Olympic Stadium, you're not gonna have like it be packed the way it was, you know. So in the arena, there was not an empty seat to be found. And then people were standing outside the arena behind the glass, and you couldn't get a spot. It was absolutely packed. And it was a beautiful thing to see. And it's too bad that, our Montrealers aren't that passionate about other teams that we have in the city, but, it is what it is. Marinaro, the Sick Podcast, brought to you in part by Playground, your premier gaming destination, Playground Summer Million. It's the must-play poker event of the season, featuring 10 championship ring events, $1 million in guaranteed prize money, and a $500,000 guaranteed main event located just over the Mercier Bridge, only minutes from downtown Montreal Playground. Also brought to you in part by Energy Transportation Group, named by the Financial Times one of America's fastest growing companies in 2023, recognized by the Globe and Mail as a top growing Canadian company 2 years in a row. They work with some of the biggest Fortune 500 companies, providing end-to-end logistics services. Join a winning team and check out Energy's career page for available opportunities. And brought to you in part by Bittt Tibi, brewed in Quebec, a winner of a dozen international awards. Bittt Tibi offers quality microbrewery beers made with premium ingredients for everyone's taste. Bittt Tibi, embrace your true nature. As a matter of fact, I dropped off a case of 12 to Stu Cowan, just like this, to Stu Cowan earlier today, and I had one for Marc-Andre Perreault, but we missed each other on the way out, so we're gonna have to get together at some point, or he's gonna come over, and I'll give him a case so he can try for himself. Grant McCagg has been with me or alongside me for the last couple of days, as well as Shane Gaumont and Master Control. Let's say hello to Grant, former scout of the Montreal Canadiens under the Bob Gainey regime, and founder of Recruits and recruits.ca. As a matter of fact, he actually gave me a lovely book today, which he wrote, which I very, very much appreciate. Thank you very much for that, Grant. I should have asked you to autograph it.
Yeah, I guess so.
I just thought about it. So next time I see you, you could come over and maybe you can sign it for me.
I'll do that. I'll do that after you give me a case of that B2B there.
Bittt Tibi. You know what? I will. We'll do a trade. You give me the book, and I will definitely get you a case of 12. I promise you that.
Perfect.
So, look, you came down from Ottawa yesterday and today. We watched the intra squad. I know we're going to have a ton of things to talk about. But one of the things I tweeted, let's start with this, Grant. I thought Lane Hutson put on a show. I thought he put on a show. Grant, maybe I'm exaggerating a little bit, but you know what Lane Hutson looked like today to me? You know, when there's a bunch of kids playing pond hockey and they're maybe like, I don't know, 10 years old, and a 15-year-old shows up at the on the pond, and the 10-year-olds ask him if he wants to play a game of keep away, or the 15-year-old asks the 10s if he can join, and basically the 15-year-old has the puck the whole time and the 10s are chasing and they can't get the puck off him. Well, he looked like a 15-year-old today, and the rest looked like they were 10. With all due respect to them, of course, I'm just trying an example here. He was putting on a show, Grant.
Yeah, but I'm picturing the 15-year-old being bigger than all the other kids, and it was.
I understand that.
Yeah.
So you know what? Hold on a second. Let me change it then. It reminds me of Dean Youngblood, who used to play versus his brother and all the bigger kids. And Dean was the smallest one on the ice and the youngest one, and he would skate circles around them. How about that?
Yeah, Swayze and the whole bunch. Yeah.
That's Kelly's kid brother, Dean Youngblood. Remember that? Yeah. Great movie. I love that movie, by the way.
Yeah. Well, it's not really a surprise, that he. I think all of the usual suspects, all the guys that we liked yesterday, Tony, were I think we're the best players probably again today. They stood out. But yeah, the only time you heard ooze out in the in the press box was when it was something that Lane Hutson did pretty much, and it was probably 4 or 5 times today. So
yeah,
he certainly excites the media, and if also the crowd there obviously loved the show that he put on, and it was very fun to see.
He's got the head shakes going on when he's playing. He's got the little pumps, like kind of like pretending like he's going to shoot, and he doesn't. He's got a shake, rattle, and roll going. He's got everything going on, man.
Yeah, Reinbacher put the words Cale Makar out there, and it's not the first time I've heard it. Like he's like a smaller version of Cale Makar with his feet and his deeks. He's just he's so crafty. I think he's an ankle breaker. I'm glad I didn't have to face him out there, because I'd probably still be on the ice at a corkscrewed into the ice. Yeah.
Actually, David Reinbacher at the end of practice, you talked about him talking about Lane Hutson. He also talked about Philip Machar. And by the way, Philip Machar's first 25 minutes of the intra squad today, I wasn't blown away. I didn't really see him all that much. I didn't think he was working all that much. But then all of a sudden, he gets a chance down the right wing in the second half of the game, or game 2, whichever way you want to put it. And he rips a quick wrist shot in for a goal. But let's hear Reinbacher talking about his relationship with Makar and Hutson.
This week, is there any guys in particular maybe you became closer with or you spent more time with?
Yeah, for sure. Makar, we were talking a lot. For sure, he's a European kid, and then for sure Lane. He's a really, really good human. Yeah, he's also good on the ice. He's really good on the ice. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I met a lot of people here. It was nice to talk with them, to talk about the season, to talk about their experience, which they had last year in the development camp. It helped me a lot to prepare a little bit for it. Like I said, it was hard, it was fun, and I like the journey here.
What is he like to play with? What is he like to play with?
Lane?
Lane, yeah.
Probably you get the puck skated out a little bit, and then you give it to him and just start watching. No, he's a good offensive player. I would say I hope it's not too high for him, but for the media now, he's probably in the next Makar. He's so good on the skates. He can do some so crazy stuff on the ice. So I would love to play with him one day, make a pair with him, and then yeah, we will see. He and me and all the other guys, I guess we have a long journey, a lot of work to do, and then we can play one day for Montreal and do the goal we have to.
The fact that he was a young Cale Makar, holy Jesus, we'll get to that in a second. The fact that Reinbacher was paired with Hutson, Grant, as a former scout with the Montreal Canadiens, and I'm sure you're around a development camp or two in your life, that's not a coincidence, is it?
Not at all. And, you know, I don't like to take credit or whatever, but I have been saying since, you know, to justify why I think the Canadiens will take Reinbacher was I see those two being a pairing down the road. You look at your roster and you try to project where you think a draft pick will fit in 3 or 4 years in the lineup. And I'm especially after the development camp where they seem to be together all the time and passing back and forth. You saw the chemistry. I asked Lane Hutson about it, like, you were really trying to get Reinbacher a goal there, weren't you? And he came so close on a couple of occasions there. It was fun to see the chemistry those two have already built up. And I was told that I guess Hutson was pretty happy when they picked Reinbacher, because he, first and foremost, he's a good kid too. They interviewed him, and I think he's got a great. Typically, an American kid that is that good, that young, has airs about them, and I don't get that. I've interviewed Lane a few times, and then we saw him again today. He's really got his head on straight, and I think he's a really good kid, and I look so forward to him and Reinbacher someday being a pairing, because I really believe that they complement each other so well. Reinbacher is you can already see it. He's very good one-on-one defending. He's going to be an excellent defensive defenseman and ranged. And Lane also touched on it today, and I really think down the road, the hope is that those two are a pairing, and I really think, and I asked Logan Mailloux about this, what do you think about playing with Gooley, and he thinks that would be just fantastic too. So that to me is what they project down the road as two pairings that I think could be outstanding.
Then again, you know what? Maybe Logan Mailloux might be paired with Michael Matheson as early as this year.
Well, that's right. That's right. I'm talking 3 or 4 years down the road, but right now, Matheson's the best defenseman on the team. So
for sure, 100%.
And I think you're right about that could be a pairing over the next 2 or 3 years. And certainly Matheson's not going anywhere after the way he played in the second half of the year. That's for sure. He
was unbelievable. Listen,
Yeah.
I want to pick up still a little bit more on Hutson before I get back to Reinbacher. And I brought this up a couple of times today, and I was joking with members of the press gallery and stuff like that. But geez, is Lane Hutson a defenseman or is he a number one centerman? Like he has hands like an like a number one centerman. Like he has that. He's got the head up. He's taking information all the time. He's got the vision. He's got eyes behind his head. He's got the IQ. He's got the fast hands. He's got the stick work. He's got the playmaking ability. Wow, he looks like a forward.
Oh, he'd be a great forward if they ever decided to move him to forward. He could fit in right away. He was up ice a lot today. Noticed a few times you're looking up and there's 81 in the offensive zone doing his stuff. And I agree 100% that he's got the hands and the mentality makeup of a forward, but he's a half decent defender too. He just so smart, agile, and thinks the game so well. Obviously, that's not going to be his forte. It's going to be his offense, but hopefully he can improve enough to the point where he becomes a capable defender as well. Because I think the plan is to have him playing 18 to 22 minutes a night. He did tell us too that he's grown an inch. He's up to 5'9". And that the growth plates aren't closed yet. So the hope will be that maybe get another half inch to inch of growth and get up to that 5'10" he's just been listed at in Boston U for the last year.
Let's get to that. Actually, he was asked about his size. Let's get to Lane Hutson.
Size thing, like it's been the topic since you've been drafted. Are you worried, or you still like wake up and see if you've grown a little bit or gain some weight?
I just don't really think about it. I feel like, I've said it before, but when I feel like I'm on the ice, I feel like everyone's the same size. It's an equal playing field, and it's just a game, so I'll just go out and play.
If you don't want to gain weight when you move to Montreal, move in with me.
Yeah, there you have it.
I thought you might get that clip in there, Tony.
Yeah, I'm not the one who chooses the clips. Shane Gomo and Master Control chooses them, but
I mean, Chantal was laughing her head off over that one. Even that was a pretty good quip.
Yeah, I think it was. All right, okay. Let's get back to David Reinbacher for a second here, because a lot has been said over the past couple of days. A lot of fans, unfortunately, came down on him and gave him heck for being the pick, which obviously was not his fault. But in the past, I would say 48 to 72 hours, a lot of fans have stepped up and have really tried to make him feel the love. He talked about his appreciation for the fans earlier today.
Wow, it's incredible. Oh my gosh, they were cheering for all the guys, and they made us feel really comfortable here. It was a fun experience here to meet all the guys, all the staff, get to know the fans, get to know the rink, the small ice. It was a nice experience. I know what to do now. I will head back home and then start training again. I guess there's a lot of work to do, so I'm excited for that, and then we'll see where I'm ending up next season.
What was it like when you went back to the bench after the shootout? Just that atmosphere when you came off from the crowd.
It felt really, really, really nice. I had goosebumps, to be honest. They were cheering when I went down the ice. It was incredible. I guess I missed the trick, but I will work on it to do it probably next couple of weeks.
All right, there you have it, David Reinbacher, who I have to tell you, by the way,
what a great kid.
I heard that when some interviews were done with Reinbacher in the last couple of months, some of the things I read and some of the things I heard were not too much personality here. When he was drafted, he made his way down to the stage, the podium, and I read some comments. Doesn't look like he's overly happy. Doesn't look like there's a lot of personality. So today was my first experience with him up close and personal and stuff like that. And the kid has personality. The kid has a lot of personality, and he's a young kid, and that personality is going to come out even more as he gets older and he gets a little bit more experience in front of the media. So he's not like shy. Like there's some personality there. So I was I had a nice discussion with him off camera too, and I said to him, an Austrian living in Switzerland, you must love football, soccer. And he said, yeah, very much. And I asked him his favorite team, and his favorite team is Bayern Munich. So we had a nice discussion about Bayern Munich and about Alphonso Davies. All right. It's been a hectic month for David Reinbacher. We discussed that with him.
In the tank today, it's been a crazy week for you. Were you going on adrenaline or what?
Probably I get the gas from all the nice people here. They give me a lot of energy. They're smiling and they're happy, so they gave me the gas. But yeah, it's been a long road after World Championship, coming home, a week of training, going back to Buffalo for the combine, and 2 weeks of San Diego training there, draft in here. It's a long road, but I really enjoyed it. I would do it every time again. Like I would, do it again.
But in an hour, you're going to bed.
What did you say?
But later on this afternoon, you're going to bed and you're going to be sleeping for about 12 hours.
Honestly, I hop on the ice again and sleep. So I'm not going to bed, so I hop on the ice at 3 to do something. So there's not much time to go to bed.
All right, there you have it. But David Reinbacher, the players, so they got on the ice at 11 o'clock for the intra squad, and then by the time it was all said and done, then they came out, they met with members of the media, but they stuck around for some exit interviews, and some of them had like some promotional stuff to do and videos to take and pictures to take and all that stuff. And by the time the last one left, like the last people to leave the complex today was at about 5 p.m. earlier this evening. But Reinbacher he said, basically the fans gave him a lot of adrenaline, eh? That gas that was missing in the tank because of the hectic month, the fans gave it to him.
What a great thing to say.
Yeah.
It reminded me, about that great rant you had about the Habs running out of gas that time on
on English
previous, your previous incarnation. But
yeah.
It was
that you remember how that all came about, because the Canadiens had just given up a goal and they were losing on the road and they had lost several games, and Sergio Momesso, my buddy, said, Dan, the Canadiens are running out of gas. So I picked up the phone live on air and I called Carlos at the Ultramar gas station, and I asked him if he had any jerry cans so we can fill it up with gas, and how much gas was needed to get to the training facility or to the Bell Center. So that one was one of my favorites.
Yeah, I laughed my head off when I was listening to that when I almost veered off the road. But I thought he was the funniest interview of the 2 days by far. This is an 18-year-old kid that supposed to be shy and not supposed to have much personality, like you say. Well, I'd say those opinions were wrong. Kid's full of personality.
So, speaking of full of personality, we were really impressed with Lane Hutson once again, and we'll get back to him. But, I asked him what his mentality was. Like, were you going for it here? Because it looked like you were going for it. Some guys tend to stay back, reliable, play safe. Let's listen in on what he had to say.
Your focus going in, because some players come in and they want to play a safe game, a simple game. They don't want to make mistakes. But you, it looked like you were really going for it.
Yeah, I just I'm never afraid to make mistakes out there. Mistakes are going to happen regardless. So I'd rather try to make a play than playing it safe. I just want to make plays out there, and obviously I'm not, trying to go through everyone and putting it through everyone's legs or whatever. Just kind of simple plays, but I'm not afraid to make mistakes out there.
All right, okay. By the way, you saw him next to me, Grant. He's not 5'10".
No, he's not.
He's not 5'10".
Maybe 5'9". They might even, add a quarter inch there or something. But I when I interviewed him, I loved that answer we heard in the first clip where he talked about when you're out on the ice, everyone's the same size. He doesn't feel small, and he doesn't play that. He doesn't play shy whatsoever out there. So, love the confidence that he has to try all these things, and the great part about it is that he can pull them off. So
yeah,
very exciting future for that kid.
A shout out to Murphy Clinic, an aesthetic clinic specializing in medical aesthetic care. They offer permanent laser hair removal as well as a wide range of treatments for skin problems such as acne, rosacea, fine lines, and more. They currently have 2 clinics, one located in Montreal Shop Angus and the second on the North Shore in Terrebonne. They're also opening soon in Quebec City. Visit murphyclinic.ca or on Instagram at Murphy Clinic. All right, so we had asked David Reinbacher to talk to us about Lane Hutson, and we also asked Lane Hutson to talk to us about David Reinbacher.
What is he?
That's tough. I'm trying to think. I mean, he's the next David Reinbacher. You know, he's gonna be really good. You know, you can see it. He wants to get better. He wants to be good every day, and you know, he's gonna be really good.
It was a great answer to, you know, the question was, Reinbacher says you're the next Cale Makar. So who's the next Reinbacher? And he says he's the next David Reinbacher. That's who he's going to be. So not comparing him to somebody else. And by the way, not putting pressure on him, unnecessary pressure. So a very mature answer from a very young player who's not yet a pro. Fantastic.
Absolutely. And I loved, I guess you're probably not going to have a clip of me asking him about Logan Mailloux, but he mentioned he went.
I think we do. I think we do. Yeah, let's get to it. His thoughts on Mailloux.
First time seeing him on ice.
Yeah, he was really good. You know, he's a really good player. Super smooth, moves really well, and you know, he's a really good guy too. So it's good hanging around him and you know, learning from him too what he does on the ice. So it was fun to watch him.
You know all about the strength of his shot now?
Yeah, definitely. I got to see it up close. So it was you know, a really hard shot.
How are you, Mark?
Yeah.
You have a little bruise?
A little bruise, but yeah, nothing too bad.
All right, there you have it. Yeah.
Yeah.
You asked him about Mailloux.
And he, unprompted, really, he mentioned about how great a guy, you know, how great a kid he was. I don't know if he said kid, but and I when I interviewed Logan and I met him at the draft last year too, both times that I've interacted with him, I just very impressed with how polite and mature and affable he is. So let's hope that you know, what happened, it was a one-time thing, and that the kid has done nothing but grown from it, and that he's going to be a mature and solid citizen as an NHL player.
I thought that was really noble of Hutson, like you said, to add that in, that Mailloux's a good guy, because, you know, there's a lot of people that have already labeled him as not being a good guy because a good guy wouldn't do what he did. Of course, not everyone thinks that way. And a lot of other people have said he was young and it was a mistake that, you know, people make, and people make mistakes and all that stuff, as bad as it was, but he should be given a second chance. But he too is kind of like taking some pressure off of the young man, and he's trying to endear him to a fan base that probably are pretty skeptical about him. Right. And I thought that was a pretty cool thing to do for him.
It stood out for me. It was nice to hear from one of his teammates, and it gives you an idea that these guys are already getting close knit, and the future looks bright for the group that's between like 18 and 24 that is going to grow together and hopefully one day compete for a cup.
All right, name me a player or two that no one talked about going into this camp. And by all means, we're not saying they have a chance to make this team, but very, very low profile players that just caught your attention, and you looked at them and you said, well, these guys can play hockey, because there's one or two that caught my attention.
Yeah, well, I thought that Del Elche was of the invitees impressed me quite a bit. He's got really good feet. Good instincts with the puck, and was out there with Mailloux for most of the game today.
Yeah.
And didn't look out of place. Now, what's extra special about that, I think, he went undrafted this year.
Yeah.
He played in St. Andrews College, which is a prep school in Ontario, in Toronto area. To go from that level of hockey to Canadiens camp that was very quick, and outplay several of the defensemen that were there, including Middlestat, who went in the 7th round. I thought he looked better than Middlestat today.
I agree with you 100%.
Very impressive. And I have a feeling that he's going to get drafted next year.
It's funny you say that because I saw him get the puck in a little bit of a bad spot on a couple of occasions today, being pressured and out of a tight spot, like just being able to get out of there with relative ease, either with a head fake or a movement or a saucer pass. But he was able to get out of danger relatively easy. And I looked at my notes and I said, who is this guy? I mean, this guy gets out of trouble pretty quickly. And I thought he was good. Another guy that impressed me today, I thought, was Tourigny. I thought Tourigny was really not scared to take the puck, join the offensive zone, pinch in, get involved in the play. I was impressed.
Yeah, there was. Well, he's an offensive defenseman. Poor man's Lane Hutson type.
Yeah.
And I think he'll challenge for a spot in Laval hopefully this year. But yeah, I agree with that he showed well. And getting back to Del Elche for a sec, I scouted a couple of, I contacted a couple of my scouts during the game because he was impressing me. I think maybe in the intermission, but he also impressed me yesterday and didn't get around to mentioning him, but because we had kind of got cut off there without talking about some other kids, but he was impressive yesterday as well. I thought very good and tight, especially the tight quarters that they were doing their drills in yesterday. Just noticed that he had really good feet and good decision making, as you were mentioning today. And they said they all had him on their draft list. There's always guys that don't get picked that scouts have that are left on their list, and he's one kid that just, for whatever reasons, didn't get drafted, but probably should have. In fact, I think he should have been probably a 5th or 6th round pick based on what I saw today. So I think he might be going to the USHL next year, 1 year of American junior before he joins college. And I'm going to follow his progress this year because, I mean, the Canadiens are short on contracts, so they're probably not going to sign him. I'd be surprised, but he's going to be somebody that the Canadiens keep a close eye on this year after the way he performed at this camp. He's on the radar to be an overage draft pick, I think, next year.
Seeing as we've been talking about defensemen the whole time, let's just continue in that fashion if we can. But we talked about Jaden Strubl's body composition yesterday and his physicality. Almost took, what was it, Luke Tuck's head off today.
It's funny. His biggest hit last year, I put out a video on YouTube on the Recruits channel after the season, after he got signed, biggest hits of his college career, and that may have been the biggest hit that he had last year was on Tuck. Just nailed him. And this time Tuck got a little bit out of the way. He didn't actually go down this time. Tuck's a pretty solid character himself. But I talked to Stroobs about it in an interview a few months ago, and he laughed about, we've talked about it and the hit and stuff, and that keep your head up a little bit. But yeah, he almost it was almost deja vu for Luke Tuck, who I thought, Tony, was very good today.
Yeah, but you just brought up something, and I'll make you continue. But you brought up something that I was just going to talk to you about. I thought he was very good today too, Grant. Like, he's got speed through the neutral zone, and his speed is hard to contain, and you can tell he's strong, and he's strong on his skates. But I noticed when he did cross over the blue line with some speed on a couple of occasions, his head was down. And it's probably an adjustment he's going to have to make. But he got a quick wrist shot away. I think on what was a 2-on-1. Scored a goal, and especially he works hard.
He also had the biggest hit of the game.
Yeah,
he nailed a guy there at center ice, open ice hit. He's got to keep doing that. hopefully the Canadiens either sign him or make it clear to him that they are interested in, they think he should go back for one more year, but that he keep playing like he is, and they're very interested in signing him at the end of the year, because they need that type of player, I think, in the bottom six that they don't have. So today was very impressive for me, and I'd actually be exploring signing him because I think he could play in the AHL.
So now that we're talking about forwards and we talked about guys who work hard, I thought Ty Smilanic really worked his butt off today. Speaking of speed, I think he can fly. He's the player that was picked up in the Sherratt trade. I think we talked about him yesterday as well, but I thought he stood out. Makar scored a big goal. I mean, I think he might just end up being that kind of player, a player that you don't see every now and then, but he's got tools and he's gifted. And I think he can put the puck in the net and he can make you pay. Any other forwards that Joshua Roy, what did you think?
I like the description of cerebral. I forget which of the coaches mentioned that, but which means you don't necessarily, he's not going to wow you with end-to-end dangles or anything like that. But just like yesterday, he's just so smart with the puck. He sees the ice well. He makes some of the smartest plays every game. And also without the puck, he knows what to do. Didn't wow with physical skills necessarily today, but certainly I think the smartest forward among that group. And that 1 year of in the AHL, and hopefully it'll be a productive one, and he can push for a spot in next year's lineup.
I was very much impressed by Adam Nicholas. We had a chance to talk to him earlier today, and it was a big move by Kent Hughes right away to try and put together a player development team. And Adam Nicholas was obviously the guy that he had identified, and he brought him in. And I could understand it. I mean, I think when it comes to player development, Adam Nicholas is a 50-goal scorer. Like I think he's a franchise player. Like, and listening to him speak, I don't know, man, but I will buy what this guy's selling, because he makes a lot of sense in how he tries to explain what he's trying to accomplish. And the players are pretty excited about his drills. They do it with a lot of enthusiasm. And I like the fact that this guy is really confident in his ability too. When he was asked about the other coaches working with him and what did they think? Well, he says they were pretty impressed because I consider myself the best at what I do. Like something to that effect. Like I'm paraphrasing here, but it was like, well, you know what? This guy's, he's talking the talk, but you know what? He walks the walk.
Well, you just said what I was going to say, Tony, that when he said that, it stood out. He's confident in himself, and that confidence rubs off on the kids. They want coaches that are sure of themselves and confident, and think that what they are doing will help them in the long run. And the Canadiens got a really confident skills coach, and I don't see that as being an issue whatsoever. I agree 100%.
I got myself a pretty confident stretch coach, by the way. His name is Charlie Cabrera, and his partner is Sam, and they're both over at the Optimal Stretch Clinic. They are the founders, and check them out at optimalstretchclinic.com. They specialize in fascial stretch therapy, among other things. They're a one-stop shop where they do acupuncture and they do cupping and they have nutrition and they have physio and osteo and all that stuff. And I go there for my tune-ups, my body tune-ups, that is. And I think you should too. Check them out on Instagram as well. You'll be able to see some of the things that they do. They really are fantastic. They're 50-goal scorers too. All right. Okay. So before we wrap this baby up, I don't want to leave anyone out. I mean, there were a lot of players that were there on the ice. Obviously, we're talking about some of the more high-profile players. We haven't talked about Engstrom yet, and we haven't talked about Owen Beck.
Yeah. Engstrom, I tweeted out just, 5-word tweeter, whatever it is. Engstrom will be an NHLer. He will play in the NHL. Today, I mean, I was super impressed with him last year, but to see him live the last 2 days, and that was a question I asked Rammer. I said, Engstrom's not very far away, is he? And Rammer said, yeah, it was the same thing last year when I went to see him. First time I saw him in Sweden, I was blown away. He's got all of the tools to be a solid NHL defenseman. He's got some offense, very good defender, size, mobility, smarts. I can't recall the Canadiens having this much quality and quantity on the blue line in their prospects pool ever. So it's very encouraging.
All right. Okay. Owen Beck.
I thought Beck was good today. You got to love his motor. And that was one of the main reasons why I ranked him in the 20s in his draft year and was quite happy when the Canadiens were able to get him in the second round.
Grant, to the point where you consider it an X factor or not, because I look at Beck. Look, I know I see a good hockey player, right? Like, I'm going to give you an example, and I'm not comparing the two, okay? But like Christian Dvorak's a good hockey player, right? Anyone who says he's not a bad hockey, he's a good hockey player,
right?
But Jake Evans a good hockey player, right? But do I see an X factor with those players? I don't. And I'm wondering, like, do you see an X factor in Beck, or is just going to be a good hockey player? Because having an X factor will bring you for more than, from a good hockey player to maybe a very good hockey player to an excellent hockey player.
Yeah.
I'm not so sure I see an X factor with
Well, we discussed it yesterday where I don't think he has great hands. He holds on to it too long and gets checked. But he's got I agree with you, I think, but the intangibles are there for him to be potentially to be a middle line center. Now it's more likely to be a third line center than a second line center because of that, perhaps that lack of overall skill. But yeah, I think he can be a third line center on a very good team, and that's such a key piece. If not center, then certainly wing, perhaps even a second line winger with time. I personally like Oliver Kapanen a little better at this point. Unfortunately, Kapanen wasn't at camp this year, but to me, if those two going forward are your third and fourth centers, again, the future looks incredibly bright for the Canadiens.
Grant, it was a pleasure spending the last couple of days with you. Really enjoyed it, and hope we can get together soon.
Great sandwich that you treated me to today, Tony. I still got the second half. I was still too full to eat it on the drive home. So
the chicken cutlet sandwich, all dressed, which Grant does not like tomatoes, by the way. No tomatoes.
That's right.
Grant, thanks for doing this, and we'll talk to you soon. All right, there you have it. Grant McCagg of Recruits and Recruits.ca. We cut him off a little bit early there, Shane, but that's okay. I'm sure he won't get offended. It just happens. All right, okay. If you enjoyed the podcast, and once again, we're going pretty much all summer here, folks, but less than an hour in the summer, but we are going all the time. And we were there, of course, today. You saw us, and yesterday, and you saw the mic and the cover and the sign, all that stuff. And sick is the word right now, for sure. If you like the podcast, like it, share it with your friends. Comment sick, SICK. And if you're going to listen on Google, Apple, or Spotify, leave us a 5-star review. It's our way of feeling the love. The rest of the week, well, we still have some clips that we didn't get to. Adam Nicholas was one. Scott Pellerin was another. Rob Ramage was another. Mehdi Philippe Poulain. These are probably clips that you'll see the rest of the week over the next couple of days. And we're also going to go back and touch on maybe what the Canadiens did in unrestricted free agency or what they didn't do. And we're also going to talk about some inside information that we got regarding the NHL draft that took place last week. Yeah, we still have some of that info for you. And we're going to bring it to you on the Sick Podcast the rest of the week and maybe even next week. Why not? We have a bunch of things lined up. Thanks for watching, everyone. Have a great night. For Agnello and Sammy, who have officially returned from the Families of SMA conference in Orlando, and they're Cavallaro. For Shane Gomo at Master Control, I'm Marinaro.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast with Tony Marinaro on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts. The Sick Podcast is brought to you by Energy Transportation Group, driven to be different. Bittt, embrace your true nature. And Playground, your premier gaming destination.